I've made a lot of videos about the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but how do I really use it? What is my usage like compared to how I showcase it? Today, you find out. Let's go. I've had the Galaxy S24 Ultra for about 5 months now, and I'm pretty lucky in that. I was able to get it 2 weeks ahead of the announcement, so I've got a pretty good opinion on how this phone started and sort of where it is now with the usage that I've gone through. So much has been said about this phone and what it is, and I'm here to show you how I really use it. This is going to be broken down into sort of categories, the way I like to do my reviews as usual, and then we really want to look at the design and the display and sort of how that is sort of factored into my usage, but then looking at the camera, but not just the output, because I think the camera in here is more than just the output alone. It's also the modes that Samsung have introduced into the S24 series that I really have taken attention to. Then there's performance, you know, the stock standard performance conversation, but from a sense of battery life, and there's actually been some things that I've noticed that haven't quite worked out in my time with it. And then we'll sort of wrap it up, sort of where I think Samsung can fine tune it a little bit moving forward. Starting with the design, I switched to this from the Z Fold 5. So it was quite a bit of a garish switch to take because of the fact that the Fold 5 was so narrow, and with the new design language Samsung have gone for with the flat screen and the sort of curved frame, definitely is a lot wider of a phone to hold versus the Fold 5. Not catering for the adjustment period and just isolating it on a phone to hold, I really dig what Samsung have done from an aesthetic but also from a practical sense. I do like the old curved displays. The S23 Ultra and even S22 Ultra going back further was a really comfortable phone to hold because of the fact it had that curved aesthetic that sat nicely in the palm. But practicality wise, there's a couple of limiting factors that prevented it from being perfect. I think what Samsung are trying to head towards is still maintaining that comfort and feel, but giving you more practicality with the display. What I also like too from part of that sort of mid-frame is that it's not only comfortable because of the curved, but it's also matte finish, which feels way nicer in the hand. I haven't noticed anything regarding the titanium that makes it better or worse than the aluminium from last year. A lot of people are saying that, oh, titanium is lighter. And I think what they're thinking about is because the iPhone got drastically reduced in weight because it went from stainless steel to titanium. Samsung didn't go from stainless steel, they went from aluminium to titanium. So there wasn't any really weight advantage to gain. What I have appreciated about this section of the phone is the display. Samsung have done some wonders here with not only outdoor brightness, but predominantly that ability to reduce the reflections. I know they've worked with Corning, and that sort of anti-reflective coating is part of the Gorilla Glass, but my word, it is a marvel. Like on a table, outdoors, you really don't get impacted by anything because you're just seeing your screen and that's it. I have had a small issue with the display when I am outdoors and I am using it heavily to take photos and videos, mainly for the comparisons that I've done. When it does get too hot, the screen does get dimmed. And I know that obviously my usage for this particular purpose is heavier than others, but it has been a small annoyance that I've had. Very, very minor, because it usually bounces back pretty quickly. Where I've really liked the display is the new always on display background removing feature. That's definitely been part of my usage because before I was a tap to show guy with AOD, whereas now I'm very much in the sense of I love having a picture there, but I also love saving battery with the background being black because it just gives me the color and the picture that I like, but also saves the battery. And there's also some really nice fluid animations to go from lock screen to always on display and back again. Neat. You know, for the display purposes, I pretty much use this for all the normal things you would. Twitter, YouTube, other social media apps. Very much a stock standard experience, but I think the display with what Samsung have done here has heightened all of that because I no longer get distractions from reflections, and then taking photos, actually, I should highlight too, is better too because again, you're not getting distractions from any reflections on your screen. You can just point it and shoot and capture what you want. The thing is, with a phone like this, with its design, you need to make sure you protect it. And thanks to today's sponsor Magbak, I've been able to do just that. Magbak sent me over their S24 Ultra MagSafe compatible case alongside the Magbak wallet that magnetically attaches to the back of the case. Starting with the case, it provides 360-degree drop protection and has been drop tested to a height of 6 feet. It has a soft touch grip that might feel soft, but is sturdy in protection. It also has my preferred camera protection around the back. It is raised above the flat display for protection when on a table, and has cut a recessed area for the buttons, which creates a flush aesthetic and great protection. Protection that gives you total peace of mind when you are out and about taking photos of moments you just can't miss. It has 9 embedded magnets with 2-layer shielding inside, which is incredibly strong. But despite the warning, it supports mobile payments, wireless charging, and even the S Pen. If you want to slap a Magbak case on the back of your S24 Ultra, Magbak are offering you 15% off using the code TECHWITHBENEFITS15 at the link in the description, so you can grab one for yourself. Thank you to Magbak for sponsoring this video. Cameras. This is where I guess a lot of people would look at the hardware and break down 5x versus 10x, but I've done all of that. I just want to talk about my output and my usage, because I feel like a lot of people keep trying to compare. I like isolating this on its own, especially in the form of a review. I am a big fan of taking outdoor photography, whether that be at the beach, whether that be at my son's football. I love being out and taking photos and nice landscape shots, because I think phones are the best way to capture it. What I like is that Samsung have got a consistent output across the cameras, from the ultra wide all the way through to that 5x and even up to 10. The output and the sort of color science behind every photo is very consistent across the range. Big fan. My favorite spot in the world is Burleigh Heads, and when I do take photos out there, the photos come out stunning, especially the 5x. I'm a huge fan of this new 5x camera, but I'll get to that a little bit more in a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean right now. The 5x camera is probably my favorite that Samsung have done on their phone. I love the macro-like photos that they capture, the ability to sort of zoom into something close and create this really nice depth of field, but also capture a lot of the detail. Huge fan of it. I'd use it all the time to capture wildlife photos and photos of flowers. It's amazing for that. And even just as a 5x camera for zoom, the detail is good, and when you bump it up to 50 megapixel, it also gives you excellent results. Perfect example of the 5x, these shots I took down at Burleigh Pavilion, which is a local restaurant overlooking the beach down at Burleigh, with fellow YouTuber Samuel Nam. We caught up for lunch together, and I took the photos of the food we were eating with the 5x. Makes you hungry just looking at them. I have kids, which I think when you're a parent, you basically just tell everyone you have kids. And the portrait shots that I get out of this 5x camera, but just the phone in general, are also stunning. I really like the way it controls the kid's hair, especially my son. He's got lots of rings and curls, and it seems to do such a great job of separating them and giving you a nice natural depth of field. It's also good for pets. And as you can see from my friend's dog, the puppy golden retriever. Golden retrievers are the best. I don't tend to take a lot of nighttime shots. Again, having kids, you're not out a lot at night, but the stuff that I have taken in the evening have been good. Again, photos of my kids being the main one. But where I think I really like what Samsung have done this year is videos. I was a big fan of the S23 Ultra's video capability last year. Samsung have somehow seemed to improve in all areas on the S24 Ultra. For me, the stabilization has been really good. As a parent, you are chasing your kids around a lot, and to capture moments, you are capturing them on the move. So you need something that's going to be stable to give you stable footage to watch back later. And the S24 Ultra provides that. I'm a big fan of the zoom range that Samsung offer. I know that a lot of people have been sort of arguing about the 5x camera not being as good as the 10x, but it's more flexible, because between 5 and 10, I'm capturing better stuff. And at football, which is mainly when I use it for that sort of purpose, I can get in close, and anywhere in between that 5 and 10 is going to be good. I'm very confident in that, and you can see it yourself. The thing is, the camera modes have been just as much as part of the experience as what the output has. And that for me is kind of what's tipped this over from myself, is that the camera modes have given me so many more options to utilize this thing. I've always used single take. That has pretty much been my stock standard camera mode that I use on the regular. They've made it better. It was a change I was definitely wanting in years gone by, but I think they just were waiting for capability of the phone to get up with it. With single take on here, you can go between 0.6 and 10x and anywhere in between to start your single take shot. And then it will do its thing. It'll capture across 10 to 15 seconds, and then you select the photos and videos that you like from the album that it gives you. But Samsung did something that I didn't expect them to with their camera this year, and that's reintroduce a mode that was lost but is now better. Dual recording. Dual recording is fantastic. The ability for me to record 2 cameras at the same time in 4K, remember, on the S24 Ultra, is amazing. Shooting the ultra wide and a 3x, the 1x and the 3x, and having both captured simultaneously means that when I'm going back and watching them later, I can either choose which one I like or mash them together into one video and sort of seamlessly transition between the two in 4K. It's fantastic. I've used it at my son's football, but I've also used it at concerts. I recently went to the Blink-182 concert, and by recently, I mean like 2 months ago. God, that long. And incredible. The ability to stand where I was standing and then capture both the wider view and also get closer to the stage. Perfect. The thing is, the camera isn't just the hardware on the S24 Ultra, it's the sum of its parts. It's the hardware and the software and how they sort of work together. And the camera modes are a big part of that software experience. Now we're going to look at performance. And performance for me is always a tricky one. It's a tricky part of a review, especially a user experience point, because people use their phones so differently. So for me to stand here and give you some stock standard performance review, I don't think it's really fair, because it's not how you would use the phone, and then the output and the results are completely different. For my usage with performance, I have everything I need and it performs to a level that I love on the S24 Ultra. Samsung DeX is something that I use quite consistently, but it's not necessarily in the way that you think about. I've just actually got the X-Real Air 2s, and Samsung DeX on that is a sensation. I'm absolutely besotted with it, and it's definitely becoming part of my new Samsung DeX experience. But I also have the UPerfect lap dock, which again is something that I can take DeX on the go. And further to that too, I also have the Espresso 17 Pro, which again is like a portable DeX workstation that you can take with you. The performance of the S24 Ultra isn't just tied to the phone itself. It's part of the ecosystem. And some of you may have watched my recent video where I talk about the ecosystem and how vast it is. But the mobile ecosystem is a huge part of that for me. The tablet, the Book 4 Ultra, the watch, the buds, all of that is part of what I do in my day-to-day. And it's not just about the phone. It's about the ecosystem and how it works together. It's not just the hardware ecosystem that performs for me. It's the app ecosystem. Samsung Health, I use all the time at the gym, at home. Samsung Notes is what I use to sort of take down all my thoughts to get video ideas rolling. QuickShare. My God, QuickShare is something that I use every single day, and it performs so well for me across the devices that I have. The stock standard performance metrics like battery have been solid enough. I know I've seen some people complain that after various updates it sort of has issues, but mine's pretty much always been stable. Pretty heavy user, and I'd never really find myself too low by the end of the day. And I have chargers everywhere, so it's never really been a problem. So I'm just editing my review of the S24 Ultra, and I realized I didn't really talk too much about the battery, and it's been good. I wouldn't say it's S23 Ultra level. It's been okay. What I have noticed about the battery is that it's kind of been up and down with the different updates. I have got it to a pretty stable level. Like right now, it's at 49% at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with roughly 3 hours of screen on time, which I know is not amazing, but I have to remember I keep it connected to my watch all the time, and I'm doing a lot of other stuff with it. Like I'm constantly streaming stuff, so that can be a little bit more taxing. But let me know your usage in the comments below. Curious to hear what your thoughts are. There is a new entrant here to talk about, and that's Galaxy AI. I'm not going to cover Galaxy AI in this review. I will highlight a couple of things though. It's the stuff I use, because to go over all of it wouldn't be fair. It's not how I use it. How I do use it though is things like the photo editor. I'm a big fan of using the AI photo editor to remove things from the background. I love the summary of web pages. That for me, if I see an article that I think is too long, I love just getting the cliff notes of Galaxy AI in Samsung Internet. Huge fan. Also in Samsung Notes, using the summary and the auto format to give me better formatted notes and better sort of concise notes too is something I've been a big fan of too. They're the main three. I will say that heading overseas shortly, I do like the idea of using the interpreter function. So being able to converse with someone, especially in areas where there's maybe shoddy internet, I don't need to rely on having internet because I can communicate to them without needing that, because the language packs get downloaded to your phone. Of course, Galaxy AI has more to it. It's just stuff I haven't really needed yet. The small issue I mentioned right at the top is that the phone does warm up a little bit more than I would have liked it. And I don't know why, but sometimes it's not necessarily heavy usage, it's just doing things. and then the phone kind of has a bit of heat about it. In some cases, like I said, that has caused the screen to dim a little bit more than I would have liked outdoors, but it's few and far between. It's just something I've been aware of. I know that there's meant to be some massive June update coming, and you can be sure when I get back from overseas, I'll be definitely comparing the two updates to see how the differences lie. But as of now, yeah, just something that I've noticed. Let me know if you've had the same issue if you've got this phone. Here's the thing, the S24 Ultra is peak Samsung slab. There is no other smartphone that Samsung makes that defines what Samsung is other than this. Samsung are pretty much in refinement mode at the moment for the S series. Effectively since the Galaxy S21 Ultra, whilst the design has shifted from that, they pretty much haven't drastically changed too much. The camera format's pretty much the same, the design language is pretty much the same, and there's no real crazy advancements to things like the S Pen. But that doesn't mean refinements aren't good. The S23 Ultra was near on perfect, and this is a better phone than the S23 Ultra. As much as I really enjoyed that phone, this is definitely still better. You've got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. You've got a market-leading display with that anti-reflective coating that, for me, is just above all else. You've got a consistent set of cameras that probably aren't the top of their field, if I'm being honest, but you get so much from them. The value and the experience you get, I believe, far outweighs what you get elsewhere. Would I recommend this phone? Absolutely. But there's a big but here. Only if you need all of those over-the-top ultra features. Things like dual recording at 4K 30. Things like the S Pen. Things like 4K 120, which I haven't even mentioned in this review. If they're not for you, there are other phones within Samsung's lineup that are definitely worth considering that might meet your needs better. The S24 Plus, for example, will be a battery champion because of the 4,900 mAh battery, slightly smaller display, and you will likely use it less because there aren't as many top-end features to sort of dive into. Or you could even take a step back and look at the S23 Ultra from last year that can meet pretty much most of those needs and has Galaxy AI on board as well. Let me know if you've been enjoying your S24 Ultra in the same way I have, or if there's other ways that you use it. Drop me a line in the comments. Make sure you hit subscribe to Tech with Benefits. Make sure you like this video while you're down there as well. Come and follow me on all my socials, Twitter/X, and also on Instagram. I'll see you in the next one. Yoo!